Good morning, everyone. A very good morning. Shall we begin the session? Today's topic is evaluating a website, how we can evaluate a website, how we can make a judgmental on the website. So what are the various evaluation criteria that is taken out from the website? And what are the various parts that will be used in the evaluation? So let's move to the session. The first step that is done towards this one or towards collecting the usage of data type that is used for collecting the material, access logs, counting the number of the visitors to the website that represents in the cookie. Having most of the web server access log is also required that denotes how it is used and why it is used. Okay, alright. So let's begin with the session again. So when we try to evaluate a website that is used for collecting the data on the use of the web page and counting the number of visitors of the website. And the number of visitors tells the owner of the site his or her site, if his or her site was visited at all or it is available at the website. And the number of visitors tells the owner of the site if his or her site was visited at all and how frequently we are using them. So in most of the web servers, an access log system is embedded, and this access log system continuously record all the requests to the server as well as the server retrieval of the different files to compose the responses. So whatsoever the data, whatsoever the file we are using up, so that is used to maintain the request, that is used to maintain the server for the retrieval of the different files to compose the responses. And as in log, even for the completely static website, given data on the dynamic development, it reflects a visit during a time interval. So whatsoever the data we are using up, whatsoever the file we are using up, that is used for retrieving the file, that is used for giving the file, that is a static website that gives a dynamic development that is made during a time interval. Now, what are the various access log usually records according to the normal format or the server format? One is the old NCSA con format, one is a combined NCSA con format, one is a window format. Then these are the three formats by which we can import it into the application like the Excel and the Access, and that contains the following fields: date and time, IP address of the client, address of server, HTTP method of request, requested URL, referring URL, browser type, HTTP response code, number of the bytes transferred, and the millisecond between the arrival of the request and the log recording. So whatsoever the data, whatsoever the file that is using up, that is used for maintaining the record, that is used for arrival of the request and the log recording. The typical studies of this kind can be inspected in the NOBUT and NOBUN on this one. And there are several obvious drawbacks associated with the access log for web application research. First, the access log is the part of the server software guided by the web server's admin group, and then the researchers may not always get the access to this log, but they are using up or they are acting up with the file, they are using up with the file requested page to the client, including the icons, images, which are not needed for an application evaluation. And then the client machine also identified with an IP address. And many users are assigned different IP address by their net providers from one visit to another, that is used with the other, that are often several users sharing a client server computer. And frequently a more customized recording that will be given by the web server application log is the needed for satisfactory evaluation. Sorry. So whatsoever the satisfaction, whatsoever the application log that is required of, that is needed for the satisfactory evaluation, we can say. Later in this case, we shall discuss how will we set up the access logs to avoid these problems. And at this stage, we start with a very simple example. Now next is a visit counter example. So our first application example is a personalized course visit counter that demonstrates a few properties of a dynamic website. The dynamic website is also implemented, that's located at the end of this session, and this end of this session keeps a track of the number of visits you have made this course And what you have started your study, whatsoever the data we are taking out, whatsoever the field, look and feel that is demonstrated with the dynamic website. Now the application script consists of the two templates, and the templates used as for entering the example is the convention known as the index or CFM to avoid the unwanted public listening of your templates. And this also personalizes the response of your code for the example and remember the number of visits. That is the index.cfm, then query or fquery name or cf query name visits, data source DB, select first name visits from where, access code is session, then cf query and the cf output. Now this is the HTML code that brings out the visits, data source DB, then select the first name, last name, file name from where access code is the session name. Then cf query output, then divide align equals to center. Then h1 font color blue, font size 3, visits first name, site visit counter, font h1 closed. Then p b visit be closed, and the number of visits you have made to this course site until the time format now, date format now, mmddYY, that is the b that is given in the board. Again the font is closed. Then there's the type format, there's a date time now, b font color visit font, then TIU will be closed and the C output will be closed. And all the CFMX template files are identified by the CFM extension. Line 1 is a comment line that is used here to refers to the name of the template, and this comment tag is also similar to the HTML comment tag but has a 3 while the HTML comment has 2. Except for this tag, all the code fusion tags are implemented with the CF starting and the CF closed. And at this stage, we will postpone the detailed discussion of the CFMX tags and limit the explanation to the more general issues. And the listing out when we recognize some HTML tag that can be intermixed with the CFMX tags. They are used with the CFMX tags. They limit the explanation to the more general issues. Then line 3 and 4 illustrates the CF query tags, and they have two or the uses to exchange the data with the databases, and the settlement or the statement between these tags is a regular SQL statement. So this is given as an SQL statement that will be used to perform the operation that will be used to retrieve the user's first name and the number of recorded visits from a database that also referred as a DB. In other words, whenever we assume that the users are recorded in a database and their numbers of the visits are uploaded in the database, each time they are logging up, so there is a session pin that refers to the thing when you submit it out. So whatsoever the data that you have submitted out, whatsoever the files you have submitted out, that will be used, we can say that will be available with the data that is used with a session pin. Next is a 5-to line that outputs a query. Next is the CF output that will be given also recognized with the HTML, and this is the one more point that we observe, that is the visits first name and visits. The surrounded hash indicate that we refers to the value of the included name variable, and in this case first name and the visits respectively in the derived or retrieved query result. And in the next session, the syntax of the CFN will be discussed, and this exercise, visit any of the websites, that is any of the website of the Amazon, Dell Computer and the Federal Express, and spend more time to study. Now, what are the various frequent questions that will be available? You have to decide that. So now we will be moving to the next called Fusion MX, that is the called Fusion markup language in detail. But that is session number 2 called Fusion MX, that is the called Fusion markup language. This is the tool by which we can express our feelings, express our ideas, conditions, feeling, codes for the application and response, which is a task-based scripting language. And as in any other programming language, this has its own syntax but can be intermixed with the HTML. And as a HTML or as a scripting language, it has browsed or it has borrowed a number of the concepts from the Perl and other programming languages. And this CFMX script is also stored in one of the files or more files with extension .cfm. And these files are referred as a CFMX templates and extensions or web server extension that make it possible for the web server to identify which request it should pass, which criteria it should pass onto the CFMX application server. No harm is done if an usual HTML page is named with the CFM extension, but the CFML template is with the HTML. The HTML extension will not work. In this case, in this course, we are using the CFM extension that will be enabled, that will be carried out with the extension for all the templates. But the main difference or the first difference that is carried out between here is the HTML page and the CFML template, that is the CF tag permitted over here. And these tags starts with the two letters CF. Most CF are in the pair. Like HTML, we starts with the HTML. The CML, this also starts with the CF. And when you try to view the source of a page, that is the source code generated by the CFML template, by clicking the view button, source button in your browser, you will see the HTML source code, HTML source sent for display. And the CFM template is also generated in the HTML display, which is not available, which will not be available for the client. And this CFML has the following components. One is the data types, variables, expressions, control statement, other statement. That means everything is same like any other programming language. What are the data types available? Variables, expressions we can give, switch statement, use statement, yes. And control statement includes the for, while, do, while, everything. And in this session, we will review each component. And this session is a brief summary of CFML. And for more details and precise descriptions were referred as a RBB. Special topics will be discussed in each session and illustrated by the implemented example so that you can run, copy, modify, try on your own. Now, what are the data types? So as in any language, CFL also supports a number of the different data types. That includes a boolean, that includes a string, that includes a number, date, time, list, array. So these are the various data types that will be supported out. And this will be included in the structures also. The right data type also structured, query objects, component object. And any data type variable can be assigned a value directly or by special function in a CF tag. Now, next is a variable. There are three aspects associated with the variable that you should keep in mind. One is a name, one is a value, one is a scope. So there are three parts in the variables. Name, what is the name of the variable, what is the value of the variable, what is the scope of the variable. And this variable name identifies the variable. It must starts with the, this has special criteria that it must begin with the letter, contain no spaces or the special characters. And names of the variables should not be identical nor not be similar to the reserved name in the CFML or the SQL. And the value is either numeric, logical or string. And the string is also enclosed by a single or the double quotes, that depends. And CFML variable are the role typeless variables that will be available, that will be used. That means you are assigned or you can assign a value of any type to any variable. However, the use of a use of a variable, use of a data type that can be assigned with the value that can be used with any of the value that will be available over here. But When we use a variable, that is most frequently used by the CS set tag. And the value you substitute for triple X in the tag is also the assigned value of the variable, where we can also symbolize by the variable name by the data. And the value of a defined variable can be obtained by surrounding the variable name with the hash, that is a variable name. This variable name will be denoted, will be used as a, we can say, as a part of the database that will be carried out with the variable name. And the scope of the variable is in general limited to the template in which it is set. And as we shall see the later on, the variables are frequently given the wider scopes, wider areas. Now, what is expression? That is a construct in which data are acted on by different operators, and by means of operation, the result will be acting on the variable. There are two types of operators, basic and the functions, and there are four types of basic. Four types of basic operations: arithmetic, comparison, string, boolean. Arithmetic includes plus, minus, divide, and multiply. That is addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. And this variable, new variable will be divided out with some operations by the previous operation that will be carried out with the new value assigned to a number variable. In this example, evaluation variable 1, 2, that requires with the given boolean result 0 or the 1. And these are also more frequently used comparison operator, that are the EQ, NEQ, GT, GDE, LT, and LTE. And these expression illustrates the use of a comparison operator.